Well, thanks for being here, everybody.
This is going to be great.
We are. We're excited. Allison, good to see you. You're muted, but I'm good at reading lips, though.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Details.
When my wife tries to tell me something and mouths it, I have no idea what she's saying. Literally, it's obnoxious too. And then she tries even harder, and then it's just you can't even.
You're like, no, we're done.
Like,
we're
what
done.
are you saying? Now there's it's embarrassing, really.
I love it.
Glad you're here. Thank you for dedicating your time, you guys.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together.
You betcha.
We have a whole audience there.
Oh yeah, we got people.
We're gonna start the wave here.
We got some people logging in online too. So
Okay,
this is
I've
our
got
crew.
someone asking for the vote.
Perfect. All right, and I am introducing Marcus Dilly. Okay. Was like, let me make sure I'm introducing the right person when I go.
Yeah, exactly. And we got John Dietz coming on board, coming down the runway. And in this year's summer attire, power glasses and well-starched shirt is Mr. John Dietz. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the party. We have Peter Pacetto here. Come on, everybody. Let's give these people a grand welcome. Peter Pacetto is here. Come on, come on, come on.
Happy to be here.
Well, thank you for being here, John. I appreciate you very much.
I am onboarding somebody at 2:30, so I'm going to be disappearing at 2:29, but I'm going to catch the rest of the recording as soon as I can get to it.
All right, Peter, thank you for being here. Barry is here. And
For you.
yeah, there's room down here, guys. We just ate some tacos. It's Taco Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. Taco Tuesday on a Tuesday. All right, Whitney's here. Iva Germany is coming on board here. Anne Marie. Welcome, welcome. Mr. Macaluso in the house. Welcome, Iva, Anne, Whitney, and Greg.
Hello.
Hello, hello. I can't be a good MC, Barry, until I get my British accent down. I'm just not. I know Marcus has got a.
Yeah, Barry loves it when I do my British.
Oh, I bet yours is
actually a little bit better than he does it, and he's
really. We have one person that can do a really good British accent here.
Oh, Lisa's like the best.
Yeah,
accent.
Lisa, she does the best accent ever. Yeah.
You can't compete with me.
No.
I think they just call that speaking.
Oh,
where she's from.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay, so I am going to hand over the Beth, if you don't mind admitting new people when they come into the meeting to honor everybody's time. Let's get going. Hi, Lisa. It's good to have you here. And hey, for my team, I just want to say this. I got a chance to meet a lot of these rock stars in Charlotte when I went. And I got a chance to meet John Dietz in person when I went to EXP shareholders. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do here, guys, is I just want to, we were a fiercely independent team for so many years. And I really it was so special to be able to meet you guys in North Carolina. to work with you and also to see some of you as shareholders. That's when this feels like a big family to me. Like, that's when it feels super special. Like, shareholders was really cool this time. It was different than EXPCon. So I just appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you sewing into the team. I hope we get a chance to share this recording out. What we're trying to do is to really get our team engaged in the 4 pillars of income that we need to make what we do here at the Worldly Real Estate Network. Our local EXP office is, first, we try to train people to be world-class real estate agents and to build some income through building their real estate portfolio. That, you know, like we all learned at Keller Williams, to grow that and become the CEO of your own real estate empire. And also at the Worldly Real Estate Network, we've always taught people to invest in real estate as part of their retirement plan. It's just our culture. That's just what we do. We attract those people. And in fact, there's nothing that gives you more freedom than that when everything else falls apart, because you are in control of that. You have more control over that than anything. And we're also learning how to build 2 more, and that's stock and revenue share. And there is no better trainer on revenue share than Rich Tomasini. And he's a master. He's a master samurai, and he has graciously brought some of his top rock stars here to teach us and anyone else that watches this recording. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you with much gratitude. And thank you very much, Mr. Rich Tomasini.
Thanks. I'm the last one on the link. I use my link so often. I'm sorry, I'm right on time. I was ready 4 or 5 minutes ago. Well, if you wanted the best, I had to just go find them. So anyway, I'm very excited to present with my friends here. We're going to get right at it. What I'd like to just say is that everything that we share here is going to get recorded. So there's resources for you. Our whole goal is to kind of show you what's possible and then give you access to what you need in order to start doing it. And I wanted to start off with Allison, because Allison Alston and her business partner, Marissa Boyle, were ranked number 11 for EXP in production. I think it was solo production, right, Allison? Can't remember.
Yes.
And they were one of the biggest producing outfits in our entire Charlotte town, which is 16,000 MLS users. So the company is about as credible as who's here. And that was something that we focused on. And I think Allison had sort of a mindset when she first came over, which was, don't mess with our income producing streams. The rest of this stuff sounds like magic. And I've been able to watch her proximity with Greg, specifically sort of her mindset change from going into technician mastery is awesome, but entrepreneurship is awesome as well. And this is what it looks like. And it's not much more than what you're already doing. So Allison, can you lead us off with, we're going to try to do like 6 10-minute segments. And if we can keep everybody to a 1 to 2 minute sort of resume, just so people know kind of what your background is, but not spend a lot of time, and then just kind of start from there. So thanks, Allison.
Absolutely. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for letting me be a part of this. EXP has been an incredible resource of collaboration and just reinvigorating my career. So quick background on me. I am in my 7th year in real estate. I did a career change, went from being a director of development for fundraising for private schools to deciding to become a realtor. And 2 years in as an agent on Lodestone Real Estate, I decided to go ahead and purchase and take over the team. Probably one of the craziest decisions I've ever made in my life, but definitely paid off. When I took the team over, we were doing about 50 million in sales. We backslid that first year, and I was questioning my sanity in my decision, and we ended up doing about 27 million. And then I just said, well, I'm either going to make it or not. So I've got to give it everything I've got. And now 3 years later, we're over $100 million producing team. I personally hit 100 million in sales volume 2 years ago. And just kind of was like, all right, the sky's the limit, right? And that's the incredible part with real estate for me, is there's no one stopping me but myself. And so had reached a plateau with my prior firm and was just kind of at the top. And I've always been a big proponent of being the dumbest and poorest person at the table so I can continue to learn and grow. And there was no one for me to learn and grow from anymore. And fortuitously, Greg Macaluso and I were sitting down, having a drink, talking about something completely different, a whole philanthropy initiative. And I sat there and I'm thinking to myself, man, all right, this guy was in my same exact position a few years ago. He left, he started his own brokerage, and now he's back working at a firm. He's at eXp Realty. And in my mind, previously, all I knew about eXp was recruitment. And I'm like, I'm a top producer, right? I want to be with other top producers. So I said to Greg, hey, you know what? I know we're not here to talk about this, but can you break this down for me? Explain to me why you came over here, because I trust you, right? You're a really smart guy. You have a background in finance. You believe in investing. Like, you follow the same principles that I do, right? You're a really good person. So Greg took the time, walked me through the model and said, hey, I want to introduce you to my buddy, Rich. He's going to talk to you about that part you don't want to hear about, right? The agent attraction. I'm like, all right. So the three of us sit down together at the table, and they took my numbers and put them up on a screen. And Rich explained to me how I basically could have been retired by now had I been doing my production at eXp several years ago. I'm not going to lie, in that moment, I wasn't his biggest fan, because I was like, well, I didn't want to see those numbers. But you will hear me say over and over again, once you see them, you can't unsee them. So I came over here and I was like, okay, this is all great, right? The numbers make sense for my production side. And I remember, as Rich said, they were like, okay, so let's talk about, you know, what other revenue streams we can do with your business. And I was like, no, guys, I'm a real estate agent. I do sales and production. That's what I do, right? You guys go do your thing. You're doing great. Keep doing it. I'm going to stay in my lane over here. And about 6 months in, I realized the true power of this, right? I spend, like a lot of team leaders, a ton of time, a ton of money investing in the different agents coming on my team. And for the first time, when I helped one of my agents transition off my team to go start running their own business, it didn't matter. And it was okay, because they were still here underneath of me as an agent in my downline. And so for the first time, I was like, I'm still going to continue to reap those rewards. And by the way, there's going to continue to be incentivization for me to continue to help them stay in production. It's like right now I'm running a 30-day boot camp on production and lead gen for agents. I don't care if they're on my team or not. If they're in our downline or upline, I want to help support that, because that helps support all of these people who came before me and everyone who's coming after me. And I think that's truly the thing that changed my entire mindset on eXp as a firm, were all of these people around me, right? I no longer was the smartest person in the room. I now have all of these people to learn from and grow with, and they actually give a damn about me and what I'm doing and supporting me. So it's like, anytime I need assistance with something, I know I can just pick up the phone and call, right? If it's not one of them, I have 2,600 employees at the company at my disposal. I have never had a quicker response from a broker in charge. And yes, I'm still in production. I think Rich will probably be the first one to say he told me so. I am starting to finally shift, right? Because I don't want to keep grinding it out. I did 267 transactions personally last year. I would like to have a life. So I don't want to keep producing at that level. So I am starting to shift and lean into revenue share and being able to balance out my life and my business with that. And thankfully, again, I have the best of the best in the business to teach me how to do it. But so for me, that's been kind of the incredible part of it, is it creates a platform here that allows people to actually come and run their own business. For the first time in my career, it's not about making my firm more money. It's not about owning the firm and supporting one owner. It's about supporting me and my business and those agents on my team. I have access to subsidized healthcare for them. I have access to discounted stock. And now they have stock awards. So as I set it up for my agents, I tell them, okay, healthcare, that's your here and now, right? Your discounted stock that you get right up front, that is your investment. That's your fund money. Whatever that goal is that we set for the year, I want you to go and use it for that, right? And then that vested stock, there's your retirement. I love the fact that there are all these different streams of revenue that my agents can rely on to support them and their families, that I can rely on to support me and my family without necessarily having to keep churning out 200, 300 deals a year. So that to me has been the big game changer of just finally taking a step back and realizing there's a lot more out there in the real estate world than just producing at an insane level. And I can do a lot more with it. And I never had that opportunity before here.
Awesome. So Allison was basically where the skeptical person is when you join EXP and you hear that there's something outside of selling houses going on here. So that's why I wanted her to lead off. Marcus Dilley, I brought over, who was an independent brokerage when we came over here, and he had maybe 8 or 9 agents, more or less, because there's always churn and new agents coming over. And I wanted him to see this EXP model when I did. I actually sort of thought it solved a lot of his problems, and some of the problems he didn't realize he was so used to dealing with were solved instantly. So anyway, Marcus, can you get us like kind of caught up of what it looks like 18 coming over here, how much you sell, the stocks, all of this stuff, because Marcus also, like Allison, is very much in the field still. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Allison, that was awesome. Thank you. I swear that sounds exhausting. No wonder. Thank God, right, for EXP in your life, because 95% of agents don't, that's their whole life, right, is churn and burn. So what a blessing. I honestly, to be honest, I mean, I 100% don't know why I'm on this panel. I feel like, I really am truly the poorest and dumbest person here, and I'm so grateful to be here. And I honestly, in my heart of hearts, believe I'm a testimony to the fact that anybody can do this. My background, I'm a high school dropout. I was in the music business for a long time. I got into real estate in 2007, and it was property management that I got into. So like that was all there was. And I got an unbelievable education to a part of the real estate industry that a lot of people don't get a chance to see. So I count myself truly blessed and really connected with a lot of great people. Rich was someone that I actually worked with at a property management company in Cornelius. And I got to a point in my career, guys, where I just felt like, I was kind of spinning my wheels, and I knew that I had to make a decision. It's a really tough transition to go from property management to real estate sales. It's a huge jump. And I was, sort of a great, a top producing property manager for what that's worth, but it's a totally different industry. So when I hopped into real estate, I just decided to go ahead and start my own firm, and I did that sort of out of necessity. And I believe that the process was necessary. I mean, I did a lot of short sales and foreclosures and learned that part of the industry, but I also really wanted to see people grow. My passion is to see people run in their lane. I know that if I'm a person that is willing to pour out for others, that'll all come back to me, and that there'll be an unbelievable opportunity to see the synergy with the people that really you care about and you want to see grow. And that was kind of the foundation of the culture that we built in the indie brokerage that I had. We were very much like a family. I really cared about these people, really wanted to see them succeed, poured a lot of time and energy into them. We would have, family gatherings and meetings, and it was just a really special time, right? But I knew in my heart of hearts that I was the ceiling to these agents. I knew they were my retirement plan. I knew that they couldn't, just the way the general brokerage division model was built, the traditional model was built, there was no other way, right, Allison, other than to, make money for the broker, make money for the firm. And when Rich came along and he showed this to me, it kind of floored me. It took me about 4 months to come over, but initially I thought, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is the answer. This solves the problem, kind of like Rich said. I had very specific goals that I wanted to see for myself, my family, and my team, and I knew that I could not reach them in the traditional model. So when this sort of started to reveal itself to me, it was I feel like a miracle, and it came along at just a beautiful time where everything kind of came together the way it was supposed to. So all my team came over except for one person. And now all of those people are 100% flourishing. In fact, my partner, Matt Rotolo, who was not even a real...
Oh, you're muted. Marcus, just so you know.
Matt Rotolo, who was not even a realtor when I brought him over to the indie firm and kind of showed him the ropes, he's now the president of the Agent Advisory Council for eXp Realty, and has just retired his wife from 20 years as a hospice nurse. because of rev share, because of stock. He's also in the field. At this point, I'm seeing the fruits of this labor. And honestly, if you look back here, you can see these icon awards, right? They are a huge blessing because it's nice to have the recognition. I'm not selling 100 deals a year, but I'm able to build a retirement portfolio for my family. I'm able to see, the efforts, the fruits of my efforts and the fruits of my labor actually become something that is bigger than the sum of its parts. And there's five awards back here, right? But I actually have only won 4 icon awards. So I have a 5th that broke, and they sent me another one. But I kept it because I want to remind myself that it is my ability to take risks for the people that I love that create the opportunity to become something better than I ever could have imagined. And I don't want to leave this behind ever again. In 2018, when I brought my team over, I decided not to join. I mean, even though I technically onboarded, I didn't actually come on until like the 3rd quarter of 2018 because I had a lot of deals from all my agents that I wanted to close out and keep all the money, right? I was like a little bit greedy. And had I come over in 2018, I would have another at least 6 figures in stock, because at that point, I think the stock was like $5 a share, right? So I keep that icon award on my desk, and I tell people it's only 4, and I tell that story because it's a reminder for me that sometimes you have to take that risk. Sometimes you have to make that jump, even when it seems, I mean, it was tough. I had to, it's like I just thumbed up the reaction here. I had to, oh well, it's gone. I had to pay money. I mean, it was an expensive transition for me to be able to do this. But now I'm at a place where we've, our team has grown exponentially. And I had a period of time, guys, on a just an honesty level. I had about 2 years where I was really struggling with some personal issues in my life, and it really kept me from being able to focus on rev share. In fact, I'm surprised I kept my production up the way that I did. Things are beautiful now, but I remember sitting down with Rich, and I have this piece of paper that he showed me when I told him that I was struggling. And I've kept this with me, but it's all wrinkled and tattered. It's probably got some stains on it. But I remember this moment when we sat down, and Barry recognizes it. And he showed me what this path looked like and what was possible. And at this point where I am is I could technically retire, right? I mean, all my bills are paid, but I want to continue to pour everything I am into this model and everything I am into these agents, because I've seen the growth personally and professionally that I never could have given them with my indie brokerage. I certainly never could have given them as a team leader. This is what excites me even more. I just was blessed to partner with a young lady in Mexico. So now we've gone international. And that opportunity never would have happened with my independent brokerage. So, being a part of this journey and watching how it has unfolded, even through the struggles, my team still grew. Even through the challenges of life, I still had the ability to pour into people, to plug them into this platform, to give them an opportunity to, run in their lane and reach their highest opportunity, reach their highest self. And for that, I'm truly grateful.
Hey, Marcus, do you mind getting into the granular a little bit as far as how many people were at your independent firm when you came over here in Q3 of 2018? How many people are in your organization right now? A guidance of what revenue share kind of pays out to. If that's too personal, you can avoid.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Stock you got for basically selling real estate here.
Yeah, I mean, I just cashed out about 50K of the stock when it hit $24 a share, and that, I mean, even Greg Forrest, who I just posted about, he's a guy that found me online, and he came over. He was an IT guy and a marketing guy with Citrix and a lot of other companies. He just he just capped, and he's going to be able to icon too. And Matthew McCauley, the guy that is in Chattanooga, he this is second year iconing. Cari knows him. He actually has doubled his icon cap. He cashed out as well and doubled his icon cap. So, for me, it's I have I don't know, 350 or something in stock at this point, and rev share is between 15 and 20 a month right now.
Yeah, and time back. And by the way, like I've watched Marcus because we've been friends since that property management company you referenced. I worked at that place as well. Before we had wrinkles and gray hair and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I remember Rich when he actually had black hair, you guys. Like this is quite a thing.
You know, that's in a 4 or 5 year time frame. So it's kind of nice to go from 7 agents to almost 200 international, sell more real estate, have more time invested to yourself, you know, especially in 2023 when interest rates are, you know, for investment properties, sometimes north of 8%. It's nice to have a little bit of a safety net under the tightrope.
I found something really interesting. I'll say this and then stop. When I was looking at my numbers, I noticed that the second year that I was with EXP, probably a year and a half in or so, I was at 80-20 because I just ran kind of the comparison. So it's 80% sales, 20% rev share. The next year it was 70-30. This year or last year it was 60-40. This year it's going to be 50-50. You know, that's something that to me is immeasurable because it does give you your life back and it allows you to pour into others at the same time, which is an incredible opportunity.
It's a crazy concept that you can get compensated for a commission that you didn't personally touch and work through to closing. That is now available out there in the world, you know? So, all right, thank you, Marcus. I love it. Not only did Marcus solve his financial problems, but he also helped Matt solve his as well. So it's kind of something that doesn't have to happen alone. Greg Macaluso was hit on back in 2018 by the person that brought me over. And apparently he bought the wrong drink and said all the wrong things. So we were able to scoop Greg back up in, you know, in 2021, I guess, I think it was, right? So Greg, can you give us a quick intro on how that goes and what you're going to...
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Is that is 2017? 2017, yeah, 17.
You're right. At the end of
at that time, EXP had about 3,000 agents.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
There was missed opportunities, I guess people could say, but I don't look at it that way because everything happens for a reason, right? So at that time, I was very headstrong about sales. Same thing. I came into the business. I was one of those people that had a very fast trajectory in the business. My first year in the business, I sold 9.5 million. My second year, I thought I knew everything already, so I started a team. And I had 2 agents that joined on with me. That first year, we sold 22 million as a team, just 3 agents, and then started taking off from there. Which, by the way, I'll get into this in a few minutes, but those 2 agents are still with me and appreciative of the fact that we moved to EXP. So I'll talk about that in a minute too. But started building as a team, got to the point where I was outgrowing the brokerage. So what's the next step? Well, let's become an independent brokerage. So we did, and we were having success. And I'm somebody that came from the financial services world. Allison hit on that before. So like I helped like large companies, LPL Financial, if you ever heard of them, like I literally helped build their largest division in the country. They had 3,000 financial advisors, and I was the head vice president of that whole group, who's home office supervision. So like I knew how to build groups, I knew how to put systems in place, I knew how to do all the things that an independent broker is supposed to do. So I had all the things in place. I was ready to go, and we did well. We started adding a few agents here and there. We were operating out of 2 states. And with those agents, I got up to 18 agents. I had 2 junior agents and 16 producing agents, and we sold about 150 million. So we were a good independent brokerage. At the time, and I'll give you a little bit of background on this too, is like, because everybody has different aspects that happen in their lives that make them start to make decisions. So one was the financial decision that I had in my life of what's going to be good for me, but I was very, very concerned about what was going to be good for them. Because like I just mentioned a minute ago, I had 2 agents that were part of my team literally from when I first started a team, and I was only at that point a year in the business. So they were like right behind me. I was like a year or 2 in the business at that point. So like these people have been loyal to me. What can I offer them that, besides taking ownership away from myself and my wife and my family in my own company, what can I offer them for a growth plan, for opportunity for them to have greater success? Like where is this going to lead? Am I going to franchise? Am I ever going to be able to offer stock or healthcare? Like, am I going to get big enough to do that? So as all these things were lingering in my head. At the same token, I was also dealing with personal stuff. It seems interesting how people are doing that, but my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia in 2020. So we were in the middle of cancer treatment with that. And I was basically at the point where I knew, for my family, for myself, for my agents, for everyone involved, I needed something grander than what I could potentially offer as just Greg, because I was the sun, moon, and stars to every one of my agents. But more importantly, I didn't know what other opportunities I was going to be able to provide them. So what happens? We move over to EXP. We move over to EXP with again, I told you 16 producing agents and 2 junior agents. And in 18 months, we grew that into 104 agents selling my organization, roughly $600 million in sales. That's, I still can't believe this as I sit here. Like, I say it sometimes and I'm like, is that me? It wasn't me. It was the agents around me, but it was the opportunity that this platform presents to them to be able to go out and sell like this. And for me to partner up with people like Allison that's on this call, that all of a sudden we would never otherwise work together. We'd be in a brokerage like, hey, I really like you a lot, but I'm going to keep what I got over here because I don't know if I want to share this with you because there's no benefit to me sharing it with you. There's really no reason to collaborate. Well, now all of a sudden, hey, we have all these reasons to collaborate with each other and help each other grow into the biggest monster we could possibly become. That to me is a game changer. And the biggest thing that I found in the whole aspect of moving to EXP is that everybody has sold the recruiting aspect. I think the recruiting aspect, not everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, I should say like that because Rich is not a person that sells like that. He's Marcus or anybody else on this call, Cari, Allison, everybody. They were selling the revenue share aspect of that. This is a money maker. It will generate money. That's a given. We all know that. There's people on this call that are evidence of that, including myself. That's not the reason why revenue share is so important. What revenue share is important is it creates this vested interest in others. It's organic. It's organic vested interest in all of the people that are part of your organization. And that doesn't exist anywhere. Because of the fact that that's there, it's so easy to share. It's so easy to collaborate. So it's all these additional benefits that you get to revenue share. The income is almost the secondary part. It's like inevitable, like the Tony Robbins aspect of life is you want to have success in something, become the best at that and offer the most value possible. Well, this is the most value possible to all the agents because they're getting all these wonderful tools and all the benefits of EXP, but they're getting the value of you supporting them too, organically growing and helping them then grow and then supporting the people that they bring in. And it just creates this never ending cycle of people giving care to others. And that to me is just unbelievable. So with that, I know one of the things that Rich wanted me to talk about, because we had talked about this prior, was how I've been able to grow quickly and what's some of the things that I do in order to grow that. So like little tips kind of. My biggest thing, and I've been told this for years, and Marissa, who's part of my downline, has joked to me about this. She calls me an email assassin. I've been doing this for years, and I basically took it out of the playbook of what I do with my real estate business, is that I'm a CRM nut. I'm a big fan of making sure I'm consistently following up with people. Like I'm relentless. I'm like the dog on a bone. I will not stop. So in doing that, I brought that into my revenue share aspect of that. If I connect with somebody, they may not be ready right now. Maybe they're ready in 6 months. Maybe they're ready in a year. As far as I'm concerned, maybe you're ready in 10 years. I'm never going to let that lead go. So what I do is I consistently follow up with them with some sort of data about what's going on, how great the company's doing. This is what's going on with me. Look, I added a few more agents. It's not that I'm poking at them, but I'm trying to let them know, like, there's an opportunity here. You need to know about it. And if I don't tell you, somebody else is going to tell you. So I have to be the one to share it with you because I already had a connection with you. So that's how I have approached my business. And it's been unbelievable how the response that I've got, where I all of a sudden then have people come back. I mean, hell, Allison could probably attest to this if she was to raise her hand and say this, but how long did it take me to get you to come? It was like 8-9 months. Like it could have been more.
Yep.
Before you finally.
It was almost a year. Yeah.
So, but I stayed consistently with her along the way through emails and connection and basically then reminders to myself to make sure I was doing. So there's no difference to approaching this the way you would approach a lead or something in the real estate business, the way I'm concerned about it or I look at it. And that to me has been the game changer for me and why we've had such fast growth.
I mean, that's awesome. One thing about Greg is that once you're in his database, it's just a matter of time. So he doesn't have to focus on goals. He just has to focus on making sure that there's enough contacts in his database, because then he controls the messaging, the timing, the stats, all of that stuff. So, and by the way, everything he just covered was done in less than 24 months. Okay, so we're not talking about a 20-year span here at EXP. Cari, I met through at least she entered my sphere through the Get Shit Done podcast by Joshua Smith. I had done that podcast, and so I was on his email drip, and I don't love email. I don't check it all the time. And then I saw her, so I watched it. And then I made, I saw that she was sort of she has a very long resume, but she was basically one of the drivers to build one of the biggest Keller Williams teams across the country. And one thing I find with a lot of people like Cari and myself is that we're so good at building other people, we're oftentimes the last person to hire ourselves. So I figured I would give it a shot and see if she'd be open to it. And she was, like all very successful people, open-minded, careful, did her due diligence, knew a ton of people at EXP. We still have not met in person, 2.5 years later. But I think that she knew that we would be there to help her out and all partner together. And one thing that Cari did that was very important, I think it's going to be important for you guys to grow, is that she built the structure that a bachelor smoking cigarettes on his porch with a motorcycle in the dining room just is not capable of doing. So she came in and she's like, Rich, okay, this EXP family tree thing's good, but not really. Let's make it better. So I wanted to just introduce Cari. She's going to talk about, I want her to give her background, but she's actually created something that we could plug into and learn from that's consistent. And she is dragged through every one of the top 100 revenue share builders at this company on her call. There is a blueprint, a trail of crumbs that leads you to the best meal you've ever had in your life. And it was all done by Cari's coordination and infrastructure. So anyway, Cari, stage is yours.
I do find it ironic that we met on a podcast called Get Shit Done Podcast. I do have that in common with Greg and Rich. I'm a doer. I've always been a doer. I don't think too much about it. I just do. And then I clean up the mess if I need to, or I learn from my mistakes and just keep going forward. I also am relentless. If anybody here has been quote unquote recruited by me, it's because I believe in something and I believe you need to hear it. And I'm going to say it to you until you hear it the way you need to hear it in the right timing. And it's because I care about you, which is usually why people allow me to be so relentless and later thank me for it, even probably in the midst of it, as they got annoyed. But, I think when you believe in something that can help somebody else, you have an obligation to be relentless. You have an obligation to continue to share with them, because it is all about timing and it is all about hearing it at the right time in the right way. And we don't know what that's going to be. And so that's kind of been my story from when I started in real estate to when I grew a large brokerage to when I grew the large team within Keller Williams. I oftentimes did end up working with, alongside, or partnered with somebody. That has kind of just been my MO, mostly in reflection now that I'm in my, mid 40s, is because I know what my strengths are and I know what my weaknesses are. I know what I'm really good at. I know what I don't like to do. And oftentimes I seek out partners who can fulfill those, those gaps for me, because what I know is if I really, really just focus on what I'm good at, I can be very, very successful. And I have a track record of doing that. So I did sell real estate full time for a decade while I raised my boys. I think what really made me a good leader is having a lot of success in real estate, but a really crappy life. And I say that, tongue in cheek, but it was true. And I overcame it. I had a great, awesome opportunity to open my eyes and transform my life. Fully expecting my business to crash and burn because I was putting so much effort into myself and my life. And in fact, the opposite happened. And I learned something really spectacular, which I knew logically, I just didn't really know it, in the core of my being, which is if you really grow yourself, your business cannot not grow. And so that led me to a leadership position. We grew a real estate brokerage from 80 agents to 350. We were doing about 4,000 transactions a year in that office. We became the #1 office in our state. And to be honest with you, that happened in 5 years. And I honestly had no idea how I did it. But what I know when I reflect back is I didn't want people to have that same crappy quality of life that I had. And so I did everything I could to help people not do that. And what that path for me at that time was team building. And at the time, Keller Williams was pioneering team building. Nobody else was talking about it. It was the path to some leverage. It was the path to some opportunity for personal growth, but also for leverage and a better quality of life. And so I immersed myself into it, helped to personally grow 40 teams inside of my market center. And then had an opportunity to go do that across the country, where we grew 25 locations in about 3 years. But when I met Rich, what I knew, it was not coincidental. I don't believe in coincidences, but it was my 45th birthday. I already was feeling that I needed to do something different. I didn't need to have the partner I had anymore, not because there was anything bad. I just needed to be on my own. And it was the time that I would stretch out and do that. So I already had that feeling. And so I was just praying about it, thinking, okay, well, I'll find my opportunity. I usually do. And then our conversation, was had, and it just felt completely right. But one of the things that I've been excited about is the opportunity to have a better quality of life, to not have to chase every real estate transaction for the rest of your life, which creates a tremendous amount of mental distress, as well as financial distress, as well as relational distress for people. The problems I was trying to solve for all of my coaching clients and for all the people that were coming to me saying, can you help me with this, weren't necessarily solvable in the traditional model. And so I started to feel really inspired about that. And I don't want to try to help somebody down a path that I don't think can help them. It just doesn't work for me. I'm not that good at that. And so I needed to find a different way to help others. And I feel like at this, phase of my career, this last, however many years I'm going to be doing this, because I've now been doing it for over half my life here in real estate, is to just help as many people get what they want. And I know I will have all that I need. And EXP has absolutely proven that to me. I had a great faith coming into EXP because I just really felt like it was the right decision after about 6 months of a lot of research and a lot of prayer. So typically I do that. And once I make my decision, I'm all in. I have strong faith that if I make that decision and I've done that due diligence and I get the right signs, that it's going to work out. And I've had zero moments, to be honest with everybody, I've had zero moments within the 22 months I've been here that I didn't make the right decision. So I know some people do feel those moments where, holy crap, did I do the right thing? But I just knew I did. That doesn't mean there aren't challenges. It just means you push through the challenges, you learn from them, but I know this is where I'm supposed to be. So in 22 months, I've helped a lot of people, figure out how not to maybe lock themselves in the traditional team models where they aren't enjoying their business, their life. They're not really making that much money at the end of the day when they look at their net profit, and to turn that into a different model of team building, a different model of success through others. That's probably been some of the most, joyful things that I get to do. But also just seeing people take advantage of a lot of the things Allison mentioned. I mean, we've had people call us, my husband and I, saying, we didn't have health insurance for 2 years. We're in our 60s. You have no idea the burden we walked around with, just knowing that anything could happen and we would lose everything, but we literally couldn't afford it. Just that one thing changed somebody's life. And so I try really hard to stay connected to everybody, or as many people in the group, and ask them, like, what's the one thing that has changed it for you? And it's different for everybody. But if you spend time asking people, people that engage in this company, they all have something that has changed their life or their business in a way that they weren't expecting. And if you fill yourself up with those stories, there's zero doubt in your mind that somebody should be at this company. Therefore, you should be talking to everybody about it. And that really has been my mode of operation since I started here. So in about 20, maybe now we're at 21 months in, we have just shy of 200 partners across the country. I think probably 27 states or so. But it's been a life-changing opportunity. I mean, I grew the #1 real estate office in the state of Minnesota, and I didn't make as much money on a monthly basis as I made last month here with revenue share. So although I knew the money was possible, it's been a lot faster than I thought, because, having revenue share between $12,000 and $25,000 a month in less than a year and a half is a pretty big deal. We do have a lot of productive agents. We're very fortunate. We do pour into them. And that's what I really have brought forth to EXP Family Tree, because I really saw what Rich was doing. And actually, that was one of the reasons I felt very connected to being a partner with Rich, is because, he shared with me about EXP Family Tree, about we want everybody in this company to get value. It doesn't matter who your upline is. It doesn't matter who your partner is. If we really want to be stewards of this company, and we are agent owners and we are shareholders, then we should want everybody to be successful, and we should want to plug everybody in. And that has always been my motto. That has always been my philosophy. And I felt very aligned with that. So I immediately, like literally within the first week of being here, got engaged in EXP Family Tree. And I just used a lot of my past experience bringing, teams together across the country. We did a lot of, everything we did was virtual because we were 25 states across the country. So I just brought a lot of my experiences of what worked, what didn't work, what I liked, what I didn't like about those past experiences. And it's simple, but it really can be impactful if it's consistent, which is just making sure you create a space for people to come on a very regular basis and bring as much value as possible. So, it's really little work on my part. The people that show up and that are guests, I'm, grateful for them because, the revenue share huddle can't exist if they don't come. The same thing with obviously our masterminds. And then we're showing up for coaching every week as well. And we're inviting everybody and we're engaging and we're helping to make people feel part of something. And I do think that that's one of the most important things. We all want to feel, part of something greater than ourselves. And not everybody is connected to the same kind of people, and that's okay. And so if we can create a space where people can meet each other and they can find their own tribe within our larger tribe, that makes a really big difference on their life and their business. And so I appreciate that very much about EXP Family Tree. So, we have a pin post in there. If you guys aren't using it to recruit to, if you're not using it to retain your people, please do. We have a revenue share huddle every Monday. We have a training with a mastermind and a guest every Wednesday around productivity. I do actually host a Thursday group coaching and accountability call for everybody in my revenue share group, but it's open really to anybody that wants to attend on Thursdays. And there are other people who have started to contribute at a high level and were contributing even before me in EXP Family Tree. So just check out the updated pin post if you guys want to, and just invite people. That's probably been one of the biggest ways that I've attracted so many people to EXP in a short period of time, is just by giving this information and giving exposure to the trainings, to the coaching, and just giving without expectation of receiving anything in return. And just knowing that if you give enough to people, eventually, if they're meant to be in your world, they will be, because they appreciate it. And, and so coming from contribution has just kind of been where I feel comfortable recruiting to. But we've had a lot of people just invite guests, and then, a month or two or a year later, people call and say, hey, can I be part of what you guys are doing? So it's open to all of you and open for everybody to continue to contribute. And those of you that have many on this call, I really appreciate that.
I mean, I imagine I would have grown twice as fast if my sponsor was Cari and she said, Rick, all you have to do is invite people to high level education for free and then follow up with them. Like, wow, imagine if that's all I had to do. So that's part of your senior partnership here, guys, at least everybody who's in the physical space of the World Real Estate Network right now. Thank you, Cari. Cari brought over like a 400 unit producer that's onboarding in North Carolina. Her work chat's blowing up because I'm included in that, so I can see it. So if you got to attend to that, that's fine. So John Dietz was a 7.5-year team leader for Keller Williams, which was the honeymoon of basically selling over 100 houses a year. And, the average life expectancy of a team leader at Keller Williams, I don't know what it is, but their tenures about 18 months, just don't last that long. It's a racehorse. It's a short shelf life of how you can maintain that position, that kind of training and conditioning. John left on his own accord after 7.5 years of never getting replaced, fired, any of that from that. And he did it in a new market, a market that he did not live in or sell in. And when he came over to EXP, who he had been combating very, very well in South Florida, it was a real advantage for us because we had a professional agent recruiter in-house that wasn't going to talk a big game, show pictures of his Ferrari. He was going to have X amount of phone calls. He was going to help agents. He was going to ask good questions, and he was going to stay the course. So John, everybody's kind of curious. First of all, please enhance your background. And then they're kind of curious, what do the activities look like sitting in my chair selling 11 houses a year and then transitioning into this?
Rich, thanks for the introduction. I didn't think you were looking at Facebook anymore, but evidently you are, because you saw the Ferrari post.
That was an accident. That's why I got off Facebook. But go on.
There you go. Well, now you're going to be curious and want to go look. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Super glad to be here. Grateful for the opportunity. I have a real quick introduction. I got my license in 2002. I got my real estate license because my wife thought it would be a good idea, and I followed along. And as usual, she was right. Within a pretty quick period of time, I built my real estate business to about 100 homes a year. And then in 2015, I decided to start all over again. Things were going too well, and I decided I need to wreck everything and start over. So I became a team leader for Keller Williams, something that I never wanted any part of. And prior to taking the opportunity, I should say. And also prior to that, I had never recruited one person in my entire life. I thought recruiting was a distraction from my job. Those were my words. Why would I recruit anybody? It's taken me out of production, and I'm a rock star real estate agent, so I don't have time for this recruiting BS. Until I became a team leader, and it was my job. And over the next 7 years, I recruited an average of 180 agents a year, grew the office in Coral Springs, Florida from 62 agents to 324 agents, took them from $100 million in production my first year there to over 800 million in production when I left, and then met Rich Tomasini late last year and went from EXP being my competitor to, I think this EXP thing might be for real. Now, I knew at this point that we were going to be moving back to the Tampa Bay area because my grandson was born August last year. And the moment he was born, my wife left. And if I wanted to ever see my wife again, I needed to follow her to the Tampa Bay area. And I started looking at what am I going to do next? And training and coaching were at the top of the list, but I also knew that I loved recruiting. And I wanted to start doing the same thing I was doing in Coral Springs, except this time I knew I wanted to do it for me. And I looked at what opportunity is going to give me the best chance to build a large organization without any geographic limits. That was really important. And the more I looked at it, the more EXP was not only the best option, it was the only option. So here I am. All right, I've got 4 things on my list today. I'm going to talk to you about scripts, habits, focus, and tools. And I know we're only supposed to take 10 minutes, and I think I've already talked about 2. So hopefully I've got 8 minutes left. I want to share my screen with you if that's okay. Let's see if this works. It does. Super cool. So one of the first things I want to talk to you about is tools. And the tool that I want to show you is Market View Broker. It's on your screen. You should be looking at it. Cari turned me on to this. Thank you, Cari. And what I love about Market View Broker is I'm going to open it up and I'm going to do a search. It's going to search the entire MLS in the Tampa Bay area, and it's going to bring up about 54,000 agents. I'm able to go down and actually change the search, and I'm only looking at agents that are 4 million or more. Now, why is that important? Because when I'm recruiting, I have different price groups that I'm recruiting to, and I'm never going to look at anybody that's doing less than $2 million in production. So if they're going in my first level, they're at least 2 million in production. Now, the other thing this does for me, and by the way, there's 9,000 something in the Tampa Bay area that are doing 4 million or more, is I am also able to look at independent brokerages. And it gives me an opportunity to open up one of the independent brokerages, look at how many agents do they have, what's their total production, and I'm targeting independent brokerages with 50 agents or more and $100 million or more in production. So that's on my target list, and I'm going to go in here every day and I'm going to pull my call list from Market View Broker. All right, I'm going to stop the screen share on that. So look into that. I'm not going to say a whole lot more on tools because of time. The next thing that's on my list is focus. This is so important. You know, it's interesting because a lot of people think that if you want to be more successful, you got to work longer, you got to work harder. And that's not true. Success is not defined by the number of hours you work in the day. It's defined by the amount of focus and energy you put into that time. Now, whatever I'm teaching focus on my morning podcast, I either talk about my Disney story, which is in my book, The Rainmaker, or I talk about if you were on a boat and it sank, the swim to shore conversation. So let's go with that story. You and I are in a boat, we're offshore 3 miles, and the boat sinks. Now we have two options. We can either just give up and die, or we can swim to shore. So giving up and dying is not an option. We're going to swim to shore. Now, as Cari and I are swimming to shore, we have one goal: get to shore. That's it. Now, do you think Cari and I are going to stop and look at Facebook, or we're going to check our email, or we're going to have a conversation with one another about what somebody else is doing in the market? Can you believe how much so-and-so is selling? Wow, they're amazing. Or can you believe, did you see what she wore? I can't believe she wore that to the office. No, we are swimming to shore. It is the only thing we are doing. So I tell my agents when I'm coaching them, I tell them, look, your number one job every day is lead generation. Nothing else matters until lead generation is done. And by definition, to me, lead generation is 3 appointments scheduled. I'm not going to stop until I've scheduled 3 appointments. So my swim to shore is 3 appointments scheduled. In other words, show up every day and swim 3 miles to shore. That's your job. That's what you're getting paid to do. That's your focus. Don't do anything else. All right. The third thing I want to talk to you about is not tools, habits. I'm going backwards. Habits are really important. I would encourage you to start every day with a morning routine habit. Now, a morning routine habit for me means I'm out of bed no later than 5 a.m. If I had to use an alarm clock, I would, but I just wake up. By the way, Zig Ziglar doesn't call it an alarm clock. He calls it an opportunity clock. And when you hear the opportunity clock go off, you get up. Now, you want to go back to sleep, but you got up. So you started the day with a victory. Now, it's called a victory of the pillow. You wanted to roll back over and go to sleep. You didn't. So great job. You achieved your first goal of the day. The next 2 hours of the day should be spent in personal, spiritual, and mental growth. In other words, pray, meditate, exercise, read, develop you. You're the best tool that you have. That should be your first habit of the day. Now, the next habit is lead generation. Nothing else matters until lead generation is done. And the best thing you can do around lead generation is to create standards. Now, standards are non-negotiable. That means if your standard is 3 appointments a day, then it's 3 appointments a day in order for you to keep your job. If you don't schedule 3 appointments every day, then you are fired. Now, you're not going to go home until you schedule 3 appointments a day, and you're not allowed to say, I'll make it up tomorrow, or I'll make it up the next day, because you won't. Now, your standard doesn't have to be 3 appointments a day. It could be 1, it could be 2, but have a standard. By the way, not having a standard is a standard. You don't want to have not a standard. Set a standard that you're going to hit every day when it comes to your daily habits. All right, scripts. How are we doing on time?
You're fine. You keep rocking and rolling.
Okay. So I broke this part into 3 different sections. First of all, get the appointment. The purpose of the call is to get the appointment. If you're taking notes, please write that down. So many people get all screwed up on this. They think the purpose of the call is to build rapport. How are you doing? How's your cat? How's your dog? And it's not. It's get the appointment. If I'm making a phone call to a real estate agent, it's either a hot call, a warm call, or a cold call. Now, a hot call is somebody that I have a referral for and they know I'm calling them. In other words, they've been teed up and they're expecting my call. A warm call is somebody has given me a number and said, John, would you call so-and-so? But the call hasn't been teed up, so they don't know I'm calling, but it's still warm because I'm able to say, hey, Scott Morris, one of the real estate agents in my group, gave me your information and shared that I have to give you a call. Or it's a cold call. I make a lot of cold calls. If I call Rich, it would simply be, hey, Rich, John Dietz. I'm a real estate trainer and coach, and I'm also a business builder. I'm building this new, very non-traditional business, and we're starting in the Tampa Bay area, eventually going statewide and then nationwide, and I'm looking for business partners. And I was looking at your production, and based on your production, I think this might be a good fit for you. That's it. Now, the next part of the conversation is, I'd love to schedule 15 minutes to meet with you on Zoom so we can take a look at this, so I can show you. Show you is so important. Don't ever say tell you. I want to show you what we're doing so you can share with me if you think it's a good fit. That's it. That's the conversation. Now, you're going to hear possible objections. I'm too busy. My best response to I'm too busy is I get it. I'm busy also. Oh my gosh, I'm scheduling appointments 2-3 days out. This is red hot and my calendar is full. However, here's what I know about you, Rich. If I were listing my home with you today and I had $1 million listing, would you have time to meet with me?
Sure.
He's going to say, yes, of course. Then the next question is, how much is that $1 million listing worth? $30,000? What if this appointment that you're going to have with me was $1 million appointment? Would you have time to meet with me if you knew it was? The other response you're going to hear is, I love my broker. I love that one, right? So I'm glad you love your broker. You know, I'm curious, do you have children? Of course, you have children. Now, do you love your broker more or do you love your children more? And if you're like me, you love your children more. Now, are you going to make a decision based on what's best for your broker, or are you going to make a decision based on what's best for your children? And if you had a crystal ball and you knew that this opportunity I'm going to share with you would change your life and would provide an amazing life for your children moving forward, you would want to meet with me, wouldn't you? All right, the other response that you might get is, I don't want to be recruited. So I love this one. You know, like my response to that is, you know, Rich, I've been making these phone calls for 8 years and I have never called anybody that answered the phone and said, gee whiz, John, I'm so glad you called. I hate my broker and I woke up this morning hoping that somebody would try to recruit me. Now they'll laugh and all you got to do is go back into one of the other closes. I've already heard about EXP. So my response to that is, I get it. However, here's what I know. You heard about it from the wrong person. What are they going to say? How do you know that? Because if you heard about it from the right person, you'd already be there. You need to hear about it from the right person. By the way, I'm that person. Does today at 4 work, or would tomorrow at 5 be better for you? Now, when you're meeting with them, I want you to follow, and I'll wrap up with this, I promise, Rich. I want you to follow, let's see if I click the right button here. That's the wrong one, although that's pretty good. Okay, I don't know how, okay, let's just go stop share and I'll go back to share again. So pretend you're not seeing this.
Notice he gave you 2 choices. There's no free form answer on that. Today or tomorrow. I think you got to go back into that other download that you had on the bottom.
All right, we're going to give up on that. And I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to draw a line down the middle. I want you to draw a line horizontally across the piece of paper. So you've created 4 squares. The top left square is present positive. The top right square is future positive. The bottom left square is present negative. The bottom right square is future negative. Now, my conversation is going to start out with a needs analysis, but it's not going to sound like a needs analysis. I'm simply going to start out by asking you, tell me about your business. Tell me about how real estate is going for you so far this year. Tell me what's going really well for you. What's working? Now, they're going to start telling you about their business, and I changed screen because I want to be able to talk to somebody else who has their camera on. So Allison starts telling me about her business, and she starts sharing with me how many homes they sell, what their total volume is, what their GCI is, and everything that she's sharing with me goes in that top left box, present positive. The next question is, cool, that's amazing. And where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where would you like to be 10 years from now, Greg? If we were doing a future forecast of what your business looks like and what your life looks like, tell me where you want to be 10 years from now. Now, as they're explaining to you where they want to be, I want you to look for opportunities to go deep. In other words, I want to double my income. I want to go from $500,000 to $1 million in income. My question is going to be, what would that do for you? If you had an additional $500,000, what would you do that you're currently not doing because you can't afford to? How would that impact your life? Now, what I want to do here is I want to create an emotional picture, because logic makes us think and emotion makes us act. Now, after they describe that future positive, I'm going to go down to that bottom left box and I'm going to ask them, okay, now share with me, what are the obstacles that you're facing? What is between you and that future positive that you just described for me? What are the obstacles? What do we need to overcome? Now, every obstacle they're going to give me, there is something that EXP offers to remove that obstacle. Super important. It doesn't need it, you don't want it to be you. You want it to be something that EXP offers to remove that obstacle. Now, here's what I know. And this is exactly what I'm saying to them. In order to get to better, we have to get to different. In order to get to that top right box, we first have to get to different. We have to remove the obstacles in the bottom left box in order to get to the top right box. Now, here's what's going to happen. If we don't remove the obstacles in the bottom left box, we're going to end up in the bottom right box, which is future negative. Now I'm going to slow down because we're going to park on pain. That $500,000 that you earned additional per year that you're using to buy vacation homes and send your kids to college and retire your parents, you don't have it because you didn't make a change. And you are exactly where you were 5 years ago. Now tell me, how does that feel? And if I had more time, I would go into this more with you, but here's the last two questions I'm going to ask somebody when I'm meeting with them. It might be 3. All right. I'm going to ask them, does the math make sense? Now I've gone through the model. We looked at the 3 lanes, and I'm simply going to ask them, does the math make sense? They're going to say yes. They have to say yes because it always does. The next question is going to be, if the math makes sense, tell me why you wouldn't make a move. Now I'm going to make them share with me why they're not joining EXP versus me asking them to join EXP. The next question I'm going to ask them is, what's the worst thing that can happen if you did? And how would you fix that? And the last question is going to be, what's the best thing that can happen if you did this? Now imagine you didn't make that move. All right, Rich, that's all I got.
So you guys understand why I was excited when John said he would come join EXP. Kind of a good thing, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, because I might not have time at the end of this to circle back. Nobody got paid to do this. Everybody's coming from a place of contribution. And then this goes to show you that I might be the most underwhelming part of this presentation with the company that I keep. And I think that's a cool thing here. I'm going to basically keep it very, very simple. We started the progression of this conversation to skepticism and singular focus, which is where Allison started the conversation, which we were all guilty of. Every one of us, we're all in the exact same boat. And then Marcus was even, kind of had a wife and a mistress with his own company in EXP for the first 3 quarters and was trying to figure it out and still grew. And we transitioned over to Greg, which is a conversation that could have been better. And then where we met him later down the road, because there's always another opportunity. And we transitioned in through these conversations all the way to where John just gave a clinic on something that I can't provide for you. So what I'm going to show you kind of is, what does it look like on day 1? I'm actually sitting in my office. My buddy Walt just came in. Oh, sorry. My buddy Walt just came in here. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to open my camera and stop touching the background. I want to show you something. Choose virtual background. I'm not sitting in Maine right now. I'm sitting in an office with a green screen. And that's my buddy Walt. Walt was at my old company. He was here 6 years ago. Him and his wife ended up becoming like the biggest realtors ever in the last 6 years. and we're looking at exploring options here. There's going to be a time, and you either care enough to walk side by side with the people that you're talking to, or you don't. And if you do, I think it's going to pay back pretty well. So I want to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like right out of the gate, because most of you guys are earning 0 revenue share, which is what I was earning. And all of this sounds great, but really, like, what does that look like? So I came over August 4th, which will be 6 years here next week. And I brought over 4 people with me. Now, they were my team. Eric sits right there. My buddy Tom was at a different company, but this was a reason that we could work together, and I like Tom a lot. And then I brought over Marcus Stilley, who went underneath Eric. And then I had 3 people call me when I gave my notice at Lake Norman Realty and asked me, what's EXP? Why did you leave? You know, we knew that you weren't happy here, you know, just basically gossip these things. And I basically said, I have no idea. I'm going into the craziest science experiment of my life professionally, but I'm going through a midlife crisis. And if you want to, you know, if you want to go storm chasing with me, come on over. What's the worst thing that can happen? You can go back to the old company, say, oh, we're sorry, you guys are really the best. And then we'll just go back to our old lives, right? So we came over, and I brought over 5 direct agents, and I stacked a couple agents underneath them, to be quite honest with you, because I figured we're going to either grow together, but watching me do this alone is not why they came over here. So I had 9 agents, and I went to Montana on a vacation, which, you know, as a real estate agent, there is no vacation. I was just in another location with my cell phone working deals. Okay. So I'm in Montana. There's no cell phone service. My buddy that owns the farm out there broke his ankle, and he's getting operated at a veterinarian because there's no hospital within 200 miles. Right. So I'm sort of his caretaker. I dropped my wife and my son at the time over there, and they're hanging out with his kids and his wife. And I'm like, I'll take care of Frank. Right. So I'm just looking to get cell phone reception so I can negotiate my deals, right? I mean, I can't take care of Hank. I don't know what to do for him except get him water and make sure I drive him home, right? So in September, I'm in Montana, and I get a deposit for $420 that goes through my account. But really, to be quite honest with you, I didn't even see it land. Like, I'm not checking online banking. I got no internet. And I just knew that 2 agents joined me that I had conversations going with that I was able to have somewhere in Wyoming or South Dakota, right, along my travels. I get back in October, and now I have 10 agents that I brought over directly, and a couple of them brought some friends. One of them brought 4 friends, so that's the majority of that, and one of those friends brought a couple friends. So there's 22 of us, because like Cari Briner, I'm a doer. I'm just like, let's take action, let's see what happens. If we don't take action, then all we can do is pontificate on how great the company could have been, or how bad the company potentially is, and we should have been more skeptical to start with. So, like, let's just put the rubber to the road, see what we got. So November, what do? I add another agent. But guess what? I start scaling and compounding into different areas and growing beyond what my personal involvement is. Some of these other agents that are these 11 agents are having these similar conversations, who are having these similar conversations. And I got paid $206 on the 18th or 19th of that November, like whatever, 3 months into the company. But I don't care. I'm selling $43 million of real estate. Like, that's a side dish. I'm worried about the steak on the table. I'm 40 years old with a 1-year-old, and I'm with a company that I can't touch, feel, or scream at anybody because it's all virtual. And I'm not really that good with computers either. That's why I couldn't guide John through his problem that he had there, right? So come December of that month, I added 2 more agents. Why? Because if we can get our $16,000 back by being Icon agents, I'm only going to talk to Icon agents. So that actually ended up helping me, because I didn't know that revenue share was real, but I knew that we could get our 16 grand back in the stock, and the stock was worth $2.87. So there wasn't a whole lot we could lose. We're going to lose $3 a share, like whatever, you know? So in December, I get a deposit right before Christmas at $22.35. Interesting, right? All right, well, hang on. Let's share another screen. Give me a second. All right, let's look at this one, guys. All right, so let me take you to, I got to stop share, I guess. Hold on. So being techie at this company is only important during the application process. All right, let's get to this next phase. All right. Well, that's just seems to not be working. Hold on 1 second. And maybe this will work. See? No. Okay. I want to show you what happens in January. I'm going to give it one last crack, and then I'm going to give up on it for my dignity. All right. Okay. All right. So let's move to this next step. January comes along and I get $5,200. And February comes along and I get $5,900. And April comes along and I'm at 62 and then I'm at 68. So in March of 2018, I walk 5 doors down and I tell my mom and dad that I'm going to give them all of my revenue share so they can retire. And then I don't know what it's going to be, so don't start buying things, but this is my plan, and I walk away. I go back into my house, and then in June, it's $15,900. So I walk back over 5 doors down and I say, guys, I'm not going to give you all my revenue share. I'm going to give you some of it. Right? So, but I did, and I'm still doing it now 6 years later, right? I retired my mom and dad, right? But right off the bat, within 7 months, my parents stopped working, something that took them 30 or 40 years to navigate. And I was able to do in 6 months, right? So what happens? That number continues and goes and goes and goes. And all I'm really focused on is how to get from that sinking boat 3 miles offshore to the sand. And for John, it's those 3 appointments must be met for him to progress and take care of his family. For me, it was very, very similar. It was give the few agents that are here with me everything that I have, and then make sure that I can leverage that and their agents can have access to it as well. And last month, I made $106,000 last month, right? Not almost 6 years here. The month before that was a terribly much lower month. I made $105,000 that month, right? So we get to a point where in 5 years, I was able to retire my parents, myself, and even through life insurance, I have to say is a component of it, but my kids too. I hope they don't become useless, but they won't have to worry about money in their lifetime, right? And I was able to do that in 5 years, and I got licensed in 1999, and I sold 870 properties. And I was a real estate investor and flipped 36 properties. And I ran the second biggest team for RE/MAX across the state of North Carolina. I did 104 short sales in 2009. My hair went gray in a year. In 12 months, went gray in 1 year, right? So why am I able to progress and be around people that have the resumes of the people that you talk to? Because I had an opportunity that was far greater than just working with me. That wasn't going to be enough. We had a platform where the rising tide could lift all the ships. We had the discounted healthcare. We had the resources, the collaboration, the workplace, the varied experiences, the culture. We could pick the agents that we want to be with, because I don't like working with people that you tell me to. I don't like when you tell me to do anything. I like to work with the people that I want to work with, right? Barry Pulver joins me the following year, still British, still in his 30s, still long blonde hair. He brings over Adam Day, and now he's got 560 agents in his network, and he's not selling real estate. He's home with his 2 kids, right? And his wife. So the whole idea is to be able to have something duplicatable, not to try to scale a hero. And at this company, we're able to do that. Now, it's really cheap to be a recruiter, right? I think everybody feels that way. Well, I don't know. If I was sitting at a bar in Kansas City and Caldwell and Banker, whoever those 2 guys are, sat down, I would call my wife and say, oh my God, I just sat next to Caldwell Banker, versus, oh, I just sat down next to Lindsay, who's the top selling agent at Caldwell Banker in this market center. Like, I think it's pretty glorious, right? Like, I'd want to be the person that is at the virtual brokerage, right? That has my own brokerage, that is impacting other people, that's able to help people get to the top of the mountain. Basically, all we are here at the model is Sherpas. We're like, okay, we've done this path. Put some of your luggage on my back. I'll train, I'll teach, I'll create the systems, I'll create the analogies. I use a 3-lane highway, John reference. I don't think you guys know what that is. Lane 1 is selling real estate. Lane 2 is earning stock. That's the cruise control lane. Fun. You take your eyes off the wheel. And lane 3 is the road that you get off the exit ramp, because there is no road off the exit ramp. There's no lane 2 even in most of these models. So if I can be creative and construct the narrative, and then I can be an example to the model, and then the stock can go up 2,200%, which made me just like a broken clock, lucky. I was twice a day I was right. And we could build out millionaires. Not only have I been able to do that for myself, but I've been able to do that for 8 people now. And we have like 19 other people on deck. I have a list of everybody who's going to get rich. I know when they're going to get wealthy, potentially before they do, because I already navigated the trail. I know what it looks like. And here's the cool thing, Greg doesn't have to look like a knucklehead like I did, because I'm sharing all the mistakes as well. Don't do this, don't do that, right? So you guys have basically a team that's accessible for you to where you can introduce the model, you can tee it up. I mean, everybody knows who Jeremy is, right? Jeremy's a person I want to be in business with, right? Jeremy and Kelly remind me a lot of my wife and myself and my kids. You know, like these are the people that I want to be in business with. I relate to these people, right? And I've never seen a team that came over where everybody's doing over $10 million a year. Jeremy's running an anomaly. He might have the only team in the entire nation where there is not a low producing agent on his team when he came over here. No one's ever seen that before. He was referenced in a meeting 6 months ago from a conversation that happened a year and a half ago. They couldn't believe it. So, you know, what we had to try to explain to Jeremy is that, yes, it might be a lot of change and it's a paradigm shift, but the way that you care about your people, they deserve ownership, and you can't give it away to everybody that deserves it because they all deserve it. And if you're going to do something really big, it's going to happen through teamwork, and it's going to happen through expansion. And the way that you guys are able to serve Jeremy and Kelly and the financial setback it took for them to add another line item expense into the model is to grow and be successful. Basically, the agreement that I have with my two sons: be good people and go out and do good things. And I'm paid back. I'm paid back in spades. I almost don't deserve it all. So we'll cut it off right now because we're, you know, way past the hour part. But this is a sampling of the people that I find to be high value. And some of these people are friends of the people that I found that I got to meet through them. Like I would never know Allison if it wasn't for Greg, you know? And frankly, Greg would have never talked to me if it wasn't for his friend Alyssa, right? But I brought Keely over, who brought over Alyssa. Interesting, right? So I would never know Adam Day if it wasn't for Barry, and Barry would have never called Adam Day if it wasn't for me. These are all working in these constellations that the stars are connecting. So if you guys believe in going from being transactional to transformational, and you want to build wealth and you want to earn stock outside of your little LLC that you have filed somewhere at your local magistrate or whatever your local government records, then this is a place where you can do it. It's like walking on an escalator and walking on a staircase. You still have to walk. You're still going to sweat, but one is pushing you forward and the other one you're doing all the work on. So EXP Family Tree is a resource in workplace. There's 9,000 of us training, right? I am not very good at almost everything. I'm very, very good at like one or two things. So I surrounded myself with people that are very, very good at all things. I mean, Allison had to basically decline the job of running our entire iBuyer setup because on the side, we were like, you don't want to take a job. Like, we're allergic to jobs here. We're entrepreneurs, right? But I mean, the fact of the matter is that wherever you guys are weak, all you have to do is contact me and I will pair you up with someone who's strong. And we have all the examples from all the brokerages at all different levels. New agents, Victoria Melton was on this call. She's an icon agent in 3 or 4 years. We did 7,200 referrals in Workplace. If you don't have Workplace on your phone, you're just dropping money. It's okay. Just get Workplace on your phone. Stop dropping money. It's okay. When you heard John talk and coach and train and the command that he had of the room and the granular levels that he was going through it, right? Like if these people thought this was a good decision after visiting their iPhone calculator, talking to their loved ones, sleeping on it, taking 8 months to make the decision, moving over their entire livelihood to a model that can't see, touch, or feel, then maybe we've done the due diligence. We've added 88,000 agents in the last 6 years. Like people are starting to see that this is the way forward. So thank you so much for your time here. I'm an unremarkable person that got a remarkable result by being consistent and surrounding myself with people and having good habits. And we invite you guys to get into the race and have some fun with that. We're going to be here to help you guys. Everybody that you see here, they're all on EXP Family Tree. You'll see all their faces. So
Awesome.
Thanks for having us, Jeremy and Kelly.
Thanks, guys.
It's awesome.
Really
All
appreciate
right. Go out there and kill it. We'll circle back with, I'll circle back with Jeremy after. And thanks for all my friends here that joined us. Thanks so much. You guys are impressive. I love watching it. Okay, bye.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.